Hey, Frankie,
Yeah.
is there a hospital nearby?
Shut the f up and fight, asshole.
You don't have to do this, man. You don't have to lose. You're gonna lose in front of all your friends.
In front of? Oh, they're not here to just watch.
Oh, cool. Well, that's hardly fair.
The movie begins by showing an underground boxing ring. Carter, a guy who's feeling pretty proud after winning his consecutive fights, is all pumped up. But that changes real quick when Dalton, the tough guy everyone whispers about, steps into the ring. As soon as Dalton takes off his hoodie, you can almost see Carter's confidence disappear. It's winner takes all. But Carter, smart enough to know when he's outmatched, backs out of the fight. All the money goes to Dalton, but one thug, angry about losing his bet, isn't having it. He decides to stab Dalton. Bad idea. Dalton barely reacts, standing tall like a superhero, while the thug starts realizing he's made a big mistake. Just as Dalton is handling his wound, a woman named Frankie approaches. She recognizes Dalton and tells him about her bar, which is overrun with troublemakers. The police aren't much help, so she offers Dalton a job as the head bouncer, with a nice paycheck of $5,000 a week. That's 20 grand a month. Dalton, though, isn't so sure. He has no phone, no home, and his car looks like it's seen better days. He's fed up with life. And for a moment, he thinks about giving up altogether at a train crossing. But just as he changes his mind, his car won't start, and a train slams into it. Somehow, Dalton walks away, barely hurt. Maybe, just maybe, Frankie's job offer is worth considering after all. Dalton arrives in the new town, and there he meets Charlie, a girl running a bookstore. She and her dad show him the way to the bar. Dalton finally makes it to the bar, which, funnily enough, is called the Roadhouse. As soon as he walks in, Billy, the waiter, recognizes him right away. Dalton's kind of famous. The place is quiet for now, and Dalton even mentions how peaceful it feels. The barista, Laura, just chuckles, knowing that calm won't last long. Sure enough, that night, a fight breaks out. People are throwing bottles and glasses everywhere, and even the live band joins in. But Dalton, he stays out of it. Wait. If you're enjoying this video, don't just stand there like Dalton at the Roadhouse. Give that like button a knockout punch and subscribe for more epic stories. For now, when a biker gang rolls in, Laura knows things are about to get worse. They start wrecking the place without a care. And that's when Dalton steps in. He calmly walks outside, messing with their bikes, and it gets their attention. Outside, Dalton offers them a chance to leave peacefully. He even jokes, asking whether they have insurance and how far the hospital is before the fight begins. One by one, Dalton easily dodges their punches and takes them down, without even breaking a sweat. After the fight, Dalton borrows Frankie's car and drives the bikers to the hospital himself. At the hospital, a nurse named Ellie sarcastically calls Dalton a troublemaker for bringing in the injured bikers. She then notices he's bleeding and offers to patch him up, since his quick fix didn't hold. She asks him if he ever actually wins these fights, and Dalton, in his calm way, just says,
No one ever wins a fight.
As Dalton leaves, some other tough guys are already sizing him up, ready to cause more trouble. Back at the Roadhouse, Frankie hands Dalton his pay for the week and lets him crash at her old boathouse. She jokes about the crocodile that hangs around nearby and warns him to be careful. Oh, and the name of the boathouse? It's just the boat. Who comes up with these names, right? That night, Dalton has a rough dream about his last UFC fight, where he was the challenger. Just when things get intense in his dream, Laura wakes him up, bringing him breakfast. She tells him how the Roadhouse has gone through a lot of bouncers, and she hopes things will be different with him around. Later, Dalton heads to Charlie's bookstore to use their computer. But even here, people are already talking about his showdown with the biker gang. As he's browsing, chaos breaks out at a nearby store when some bikers start causing trouble. Charlie grabs a bat and steps in, ready to take them on. The bikers laugh at her, but when Dalton walks out, they quickly remember who they're dealing with and back off. Dalton slowly begins to settle in, making new friends and feeling more at home in the town. Meanwhile, out on a boat, the biker boss, Brandt, is getting a shave while the boat rocks on the waves. He's annoyed that his men can't seem to do anything right. He hired the bikers to scare people away from local businesses, but Dalton's presence is making that tough. Back at the Roadhouse, another fight breaks out, this time over music. Dalton sees the perfect chance to teach Billy some new tricks. He tells him, if someone pulls a knife, take a step back and don't get too close. Billy manages to break up the fight, just as Dalton told him. But when round 2 starts, Dalton steps in to help out and then lets Billy handle the rest. Over the next few days, Dalton teaches Billy even more, and it turns out Billy's a quick learner. Dalton also notices one of the workers, Reef, has scars on his knuckles. It doesn't take long for Dalton to figure out that Reef's a boxer. He decides to team up Billy and Reef, making them partners to help keep things in check at the Roadhouse. That way, Dalton can relax a little more. While helping a drunk guy safely find his way out of the bar, Dalton spots the biker gang outside. They give him a nasty look and promise they'll be back. That night, Dalton is haunted by more nightmares of his UFC career. Back then, he wasn't afraid to throw punches or call anyone out. Now, he's a lot more careful. The next morning at the Roadhouse, Dalton bumps into Ellie again. He can't help but wonder why everyone around here seems so aggressive. Dalton and Ellie start flirting, moving past just being friends. After another week of work, Dalton collects his pay and heads to the boathouse. On the way, he senses a car creeping up on him. Suddenly, it speeds up and almost hits him, but Dalton dodges just in time. The car doesn't stop though. It reverses and knocks both Dalton and a truck right off the bridge. Dalton manages to survive, but when he gets back to his boathouse, Del, the leader of the biker gang, is waiting for him with a gun. Dalton acts fast. He flips the table, breaking Del's knees, and tosses him into the water. Dalton tries to handle things peacefully, but Frankie wasn't joking about that crocodile. Sure enough, the big croc shows up, and, well, let's just say, Del becomes dinner. The next morning, the police are out searching for Del's body, but a local casually mentions that crocs like to hide their food so they won't have much luck. At the bookstore, Charlie shows Dalton a map of the Roadhouse, and something about it doesn't sit right with him. As he steps outside, a man threatens him, insisting that Dalton get in the car to meet his boss, Brandt. Dalton, calm as ever, warns the guy that if he loses his index finger, he won't be able to hold his gun. The man tries to act tough, but Dalton's quicker, making sure that finger's out of commission. Dalton casually replies, "If Brandt wants to meet me, I'm at the Roadhouse every evening." Back at the Roadhouse, Dalton questions Frankie about why Del and his gang were so focused on the place. Frankie shrugs it off, saying it's probably just some territorial nonsense. Meanwhile, the man with the broken finger returns to Brandt, admitting he failed to bring Dalton in. Brandt's frustration is growing. His grand plans are falling apart, all because of one skinny bouncer. Just when he's about to explode, Brandt's dad calls him from prison. Instead of answering, Brandt throws the phone out the window and tells the broken-fingered guy to go fetch it. Meanwhile, Knox, after enjoying a wild night out, gets a call from Brandt's father. He wants Knox to step in and fix all the mess Brandt has made. Knox is ready to jump in and leave immediately. Elsewhere, Ellie surprises Dalton with her ex-boyfriend's boat and takes him for a ride to her favorite spot, in the middle of the sea, where she loves to picnic. During their chat, Dalton mentions his trouble with a guy named Brandt. Ellie then reveals that Brandt's family is filthy rich, and they own a big chunk of the local land. Ellie starts asking Dalton about his personal life, making him uncomfortable. He tells her she wouldn't want to know his past, but Ellie already knows and doesn't mind. Finally, Dalton opens up to her a little more, and they share a closer moment. Meanwhile, Knox finally arrives in town, parking his Ferrari in style and knocking over some motorcycles at Brandt's house. He tells the gang there aren't enough sandwiches for him, because apparently he's a big eater. When Brandt comes back, Knox slaps him, saying his father sent him to clean up Brandt's mess and solve the whole bouncer problem. Despite the slap, Brandt convinces Knox to give him one more chance to handle Dalton. Later, Ellie drops Dalton back at his place, but waiting for him are police officers who want to take him in for questioning about the incident with Del. At the station, the sheriff warns Dalton to leave town or face serious trouble. Dalton's clever replies annoy the sheriff, and they drag him out of the car, beat him up, and hold him at gunpoint. Right then, Ellie shows up and slaps her dad, the sheriff. She gives Dalton a ride back and explains that her father used to be friends with Brandt's dad. But when Brandt's dad went to prison, the sheriff started working for Brandt instead. While all this is going on, Brandt heads over to make trouble at the bookstore. When Dalton returns for his night shift at the Roadhouse, Brandt finally shows up for a face-to-face chat. Brandt knows Dalton can't be intimidated or bought off. He even found Dalton's infamous UFC fight on YouTube, where he punches his opponent to death. Brandt then unleashes Knox, and the entire biker gang storms in. Knox swaggeringly announces that the Roadhouse is now his turf and starts wrecking the place. He even snatches a woman right from her date. Billy and Reef notice the chaos and try to stop Knox, but Knox knocks Billy out cold and then takes down Reef with ease. With 2 bouncers out of commission, a full-blown bar fight breaks out. Dalton just wanted a quiet coffee break, but now he's dragged into the mess. Knox taunts Dalton, saying he came here just for him. The two face off, with Knox having the upper hand due to his strength and his gang's support. Knox beats Dalton pretty badly, until his buddies get involved. Finally, Knox drags Dalton outside. Beaten and bruised, Dalton silently gets up and starts to leave, just as Ellie and the police arrive. The Roadhouse is left in shambles. Dalton is packing up his bags at the boathouse when Frankie finally tells him the truth. Brandt wants to build a fancy resort, and Frankie is the only one holding out. Dalton doesn't seem to care much at first, but Frankie confesses she's terrified, more than he could ever know. Meanwhile, Brandt is informed that Dalton is still alive as he gazes at his resort plans. Dalton, on his way to the bus stop, spots that Charlie's bookstore has been set on fire. Firefighters tell him Charlie and her dad were rushed to the hospital. Since Charlie was the first person to welcome him to town, Dalton decides he can't just walk away. He heads straight to Brandt's place. He finds one of Brandt's goons and lets him know that burning down Charlie's bookstore was a huge mistake. Dalton then breaks the guy's trachea, making it impossible for him to breathe, pushing him into the pool. Dalton then shares his own fear. "I'm afraid of what happens when somebody pushes me too far, 'cause I know what happens next." The guy just dies in the pool. As one of the bikers watches Dalton shove the injured goon into a truck, he quickly spills the beans about where and when Brandt will be meeting with a lot of cash involved. Dalton tracks down a corrupt cop and knocks him out. He finds a case full of cash, enough to last a lifetime, and frames the cop for a murder before knocking him out again. Dalton then uses a payphone to call the police and the news to the scene. Ellie's dad arrives, just as Dalton finishes setting up explosives. He tells Dalton that Brandt has taken Ellie and will kill her unless Dalton returns the money. Dalton is skeptical, but agrees to meet with the cash, just in case the threat is real. Dalton takes a boat right under the nose of Ellie's ex-boyfriend, who is a cop. Knox makes a grand entrance at Brandt's estate, but no one is there. At Brandt's boat, the sheriff is lounging around, claiming Ellie's kidnapping is a lie, until Brandt admits he did take her. "How's that for a twist?" Dalton asks. Brandt is furious with Dalton for always getting in his way and just wants his money. Suddenly, Knox appears on the horizon, giving Dalton the chance he needs to blow up the explosives. The explosion distracts everyone, allowing Dalton to search for Ellie. He finds her locked in a room just as the window blows open from the pressure. They escape into the water, and Dalton fights off attackers. Ellie manages to get into one of the boats, but Brandt is already there, taking her hostage and heading to the Roadhouse to destroy it. Meanwhile, Knox is left having a violent showdown with Dalton. Dalton somehow makes it onto Brandt's boat. Just as Knox is about to strike him, Dalton spins the boat, sending Knox flying off. Brandt, furious, turns his boat to crash into Dalton, but Dalton leaps onto Brandt's boat just in time. As Ellie and Brandt struggle, Dalton knocks Brandt down. The boat flips over near the Roadhouse, but Dalton and Ellie manage to escape. Brandt survives, and Dalton is determined to end it once and for all. Brandt tries to use a fishing spear, but Dalton quickly knocks him out. Knox arrives for another round, and this time it's a fair fight. Dalton fights hard, but Knox keeps landing extra punches. Man, the fight is just intense. I will tell you that. Dalton gets Knox in a headlock, but Knox manages to stab him in the gut. Just as Knox is about to stab him again, Brandt shouts for Knox to kill Dalton. Annoyed, Knox decides to deal with Brandt first. This gives Dalton the chance he needs to recover. He uses wooden sticks to defeat Knox and finally finishes him off. The sheriff arrives and tells Dalton he's covered, but needs to leave. Frankie remains hopeful, saying the Roadhouse will be fine. In the final scene, Dalton's bus arrives, and as Charlie's dad finds the case full of money and wants to thank Dalton, he's already gone.